I make this point because I believe it's the only point when it comes to this Chinese spy balloon. And I know that everybody and their mother is discussing this balloon, and rightfully so, because, well, the story's not about the balloon. We understand that China can't be trusted. The Communist Chinese Party can't be trusted. No communist can be trusted at any time, any place, and anywhere. Communism is, of course, evil. Communism destroys lives. Communism ruins people and ruins the soul. The only thing that communism has ever inspired is a prayer for a quick and painless death. We understand the evils of communism. Here in the United States, we work aggressively to fight those who want to bring this kind of institutional thought process to us. But the story here is about Biden incompetency. And it may not just be Biden, because it's not just Biden. It's the entire administration that has actively, proactively, willfully, and wantonly lied to everyone, everywhere about this balloon. This story isn't about China. This story is about us. And what the hell has happened to us? This isn't about balloons. It's about Biden and a whole bunch of BS. Guys, welcome to the show. Good to be with you, presented by the good people at Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org, economic liberty, free speech. I know they've been in the news lately about getting involved in some elections. I am going to get into that. I plan on discussing that in depth. We know the basics, right? Here's this balloon. It's a Chinese balloon. Of course, they're spying on the United States. It was allowed to travel the length of the United States, and then it was shot down off the coast of South Carolina. The argument, of course, being that you didn't want to shoot it down over land because it could do damage. Well, it's very possible that it could have done damage. But what we know is that this balloon didn't magically appear in Montana. This balloon we knew about over the Aleutian Islands, part of the archipelago of Alaska. We knew it. We saw it, right? Wait, we didn't see it? Now, did we see it or didn't we see it? That's another conversation where it seems that the Biden administration doesn't want to trust us with the information, because per the reporting, the federal government knew that it was there. The Defense Department knew that it was there. Just nobody wanted to do anything and figured we wouldn't bring it up so Secretary of State Antony Blinken could have his meeting with the Chinese. It was only after someone in Montana happened to look up and go, hey, there's a balloon. That's a weird looking balloon. Oh, huh. Think anybody else think that's weird? And then all of a sudden, it became a story. I mean, that is exactly what happened. Someone in Montana happened to look into the sky and said, hey, that's weird. So we know that we would have allowed this balloon to travel across the United States. And while the balloon was shot down, we don't know if it would have been shot down. Again, we don't know. And part of the reason we don't know is because the faith in the Biden administration and in the Defense Department is freaking gone based on their own moves and own conversations, based on how they are speaking to us. And I want to share some of the ways we know this to be true. This was Karine Jean-Pierre talking about the incident. She's the White House press secretary.
At the same time, we protected against Chinese intelligence collection because we knew exactly where the balloon was going. The military recommended taking the balloon down over water, following the determination by military commanders that there was undue risk of debris causing harm to civilians while the balloon was over land in Alaska, Canada, or the continental United States.
Well, wait a second. I understand that there could be risk if you shoot something down. What about the risk of not shooting it down? And since you shot it down afterwards, you clearly thought there was enough issue with the balloon that it shouldn't be up to begin with. So are you telling me that the United States, our Department of Defense, couldn't figure out where to shoot down this balloon or take down this balloon in a way that wouldn't cause mass damage? Now, this balloon left itself a trail. And this was, of all people, Secretary Buttigieg answering questions of Jake Tapper.
Glad to be with you.
So this suspected Chinese spy balloon entered U.S. airspace
8 days ago, 2 Saturdays ago in Alaska, once it became clear that this was not an accident, why did the U.S. not shoot it down then?
Well, again, the president gave instructions to have it handled, to have it shot down in a way that was safe. As you may have seen, there's reporting now that the debris field that was created by this balloon when it was shot down was about 7 miles long. And so anytime the military is considering an operation like that, they have to consider the safety of the American people.
You have to consider the safety of the American people at all times. And yes, a 7-mile field debris, I guess is the way you would describe it. That's right. Right. But here's the question. Joe Biden wanted this thing taken down. Well, we were told that Joe Biden on that Wednesday said take it down. Now that creates its own series of questions. Specifically Wednesday. You mean when they saw it over Montana? Hey, look, a balloon. What about the days before? What about when it was first seen in the Pacific, or was it in the Bering Sea, or over the Aleutians? What about that moment? Why wasn't it taken down then? Joe Biden will tell you it was always his plan to shoot it down.
We made it clear to China what we're going to do. They understand our position. We're not going to back off. We did the right thing.
Has it always been your view to shoot down a Chinese spy balloon, or was it only because it became public?
Oh, no, it was always my position. Once it came over into the United States from Canada, I told the Defense Department wanted to shoot it down as soon as it was appropriate. They concluded we should not shoot it down over land. It was not a serious threat, and we should wait till it got across the water.
Hold on a second, Mr. President. You're not making any sense. It was always your position it should be shot down, which was your position last Wednesday when you said shoot it down. And the military said, no, we have to wait until this thing is over water. We can't shoot it down over land. It could hurt people. Now, many people have noted, you mean we can't shoot it down over Montana? We don't have enough empty space in Montana for this thing to come down? By the way, what is the debris that comes off one of these spy balloons? I don't have an answer for that. I think a lot of people argue, and successfully, that there's plenty of open land for this thing to have come down over Montana. I live in Indiana. There's plenty of open land here in Indiana that this thing could have been shot down. I don't think it came over Indiana, though. I don't think it did. I could be wrong on that. But let's take a step back one more time. Your position was to shoot it down. Were you given that option, Mr. President, when it was discovered over the Aleutian Islands? When did you, the President of the United States, know that there was a Chinese spy balloon? And if you said shoot it down and the military said no, well, who's in charge? We have two questions now that are of serious, worthy discussion. When was the president informed of the the existence of this balloon? And when did he first say shoot it down? Because if he wasn't told of the appearance of this balloon until it was over Montana, and only because somebody looked up and said, oh, a balloon, well then, we're being lied to on every level of it, and very possibly so is the president of the United States, who may not actually be in charge of the military. This is not conspiracy theory talk. This is me hearing what they have to say and just, I don't know, utilizing my mind and saying this doesn't make sense. These things do not connect. And they don't. They don't connect. As former Defense Secretary Mark Esper explained,
I think it's a fair decision, if you will, to not shoot it down over populated areas out of fear of hurting somebody or severely damaging property. But you have to go back a few days before then. The question is, when did the Pentagon know that it was entering our airspace? I'm confident that we knew soon enough that once it crossed into that airspace, that we could have shot it down over open water. We could have shot it down over very dense, sparse parts of Alaska. We should have shot it down then, but so it leads me to believe that possibly a political decision was made by the White House not to do so for fear of interrupting the relationship with China.
The relationship with China. It was Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, who had a meeting scheduled for the weekend with China and had to cancel the meeting. Oh, this spy balloon changes everything. But as Mark Esper well explains, of course we have the technology to know this thing was here. Which brings up the whole conversation about former President Trump and the Defense Department being absolutely caught in a lie. They said, well, there were 3 spy balloons that entered the United States under President Trump, and well, he didn't do anything about it. Well, that was really the media that then caught on to that. And people said, what? And President Trump said, are you out of your mind? What spy balloons? And Secretary Esper there was like, what are you talking about? Secretary Mark Esper is not a fan of Donald Trump's. And he's like, what are you talking about? Then came the story, oh yeah, they entered, but we only found that out afterwards, after Trump was already out of office. The more I think about that, the more you think about that, the more none of us trust this administration. The Defense Department is now playing defense against Joe Biden being asked questions by the press. You got to throw a Trump thing in there to say, oh, look, this one and that one did this one did that. Why are you complaining? What kind of country is this? What kind of systems do we have in place? What the hell are we doing? If you want to argue that shooting down a balloon isn't the right thing to do, you can do that. If you want to argue shooting it down is the only thing to do, you can do that as well. This is different. This is about trying to make a claim about something that may not have happened for political reasons. The Defense Department acting in a way that is political. And then it was the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, saying that Joe Biden showed he'll always take and safeguard the American people and take their security and make their security first. If that's the case, why wasn't the balloon shot down before it crossed the United States? Wouldn't that, in a conversation about security, be the right move? Yes, some of it may fall on land, but we're pretty good at being able to calculate these things. I don't know, maybe somebody has an abacus, and we could have figured out if we shoot it down here, it's the least amount of damage to humans and civilization possible. Wouldn't that have been a smarter, safer move? Instead, we're fed a line about the Trump presidency, and we're told by the Secretary of Defense that Biden has our best interest at heart. Biden's best interest, or Biden's gut, if we want to believe he still has one, told him to shoot the thing down. And you, Lloyd Austin, told him no. It'd be better if we did this, better if we did that, better if we did the other. Better if we waited till it was off the coast of South Carolina? Does anyone, anywhere, buy into this BS? Or are we all fully aware that the one thing we know for sure, what we do know for certain, is that the administration wasn't forthright about the existence of the balloon? The military may very well have disregarded the president of the United States, the guy who got elected, and that the Defense Department brought up President Trump, former President Trump, as a way of distraction and deflection and political cover for the Biden administration. That's what we know. So many pieces of conversation, this way and that way and the other. What we know is that our trust in the administration, our trust in the institutions has been shot to hell, has been blown up like a Chinese spy balloon. How is it then that the only person making sense is progressive Democrat Ro Khanna?
But that's very different than having a balloon traverse United States airspace and go across the entire continental United States. I mean, we don't know what was in this balloon or what could be in a future balloon. And that's why I think this incident is different. I do think it raises serious questions, again, about TikTok. I have raised them. Others have raised them. I believe there should be a forced sale to an American company. You can't just ban something that millions of young people are using. But the issues are very serious about who's collecting this data. Is it being used to manipulate information to many American young people? And there has to be action, reasonable action that the Congress takes on that.
He's making sense. Certainly, you cannot have TikTok operating in the United States. And I have made the same argument. There are people who make real money on TikTok, and they're going to be out of a job. They've created these worlds. They've created this brand for themselves. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's silly or not, it totally doesn't matter. But we shouldn't allow the communist Chinese to own property in the United States. Farmland, gone. And they shouldn't be allowed to own or operate businesses in the United States. TikTok, gone. For national security, China has proven that they can't be trusted. We already knew this, but now they've proven it. Now we have to take the next steps. And I want to hear Republicans in the House and in the Senate demanding that communist assets in the United States be taken. I know it's not the way we think. We're not expropriation kinds of people. All of a sudden, we're all Maxine Waters. But I'm not talking about going after Americans. I'm talking about ensuring that the communist Chinese don't have a foothold in the United States. This is national security. And if you haven't already seen that China's a threat, dear Lord, let me show you pictures of a balloon. By the way, the balloon is a great tool because, well, how can you be scared of a balloon? Oh, look at them. Those Americans, they shot down of a balloon, scared of a balloon. Doesn't matter what China says. It doesn't matter how angry China gets. We may have to engage in retaliation. You do what you got to do, kid. We're going to do what we're going to do. And what we're going to do is prevent you from owning land in the United States. That should be law. Members of the Chinese Communist Party and their assets cannot own property or businesses in the United States. I've got a progressive Democrat leading the way on this. Now, Senator Marco Rubio said something. And I thought it was worthy of noting because the funniest thing about Rubio is every time he talks on a subject, he really does have full command right until he gets on the campaign trail, the presidential campaign trail, and then he just absolutely falls apart. But this was an interesting take.
Well, we won't know that until we get into a secure setting this week in Washington, and probably most of that is something we won't be able to disclose in any great detail, other than to say this, and that is that, they're going to try to recover this. Apparently, it's in shallow waters. We'll see what they recover from it. But I don't think the technology or the existence of these things is a great mystery. I think what's embedded here is a clear message. It's not a coincidence that this happens leading up to the State of the Union address, leading up to Blinken's visit to China. The Chinese knew that this was going to be spotted. They knew that we were going to have to react to it. They flew it over military installations and sensitive sites right across the middle. I mean, look at the flight path of this thing. It's a diagonal shot right through the middle of the continental United States. And the message embedded in this to the world is we can fly a balloon over airspace of the United States of America, and they won't be able to do anything about it to stop us.
Now, I think that Senator Rubio is correct about what China's intention was. I think that he is wrong in reference to the State of the Union, the idea of the timing, only because you would have to think that that matters, as if somehow there wouldn't be any additional pressure. I just don't see that part as the part that matters the most, because one could argue that it's China. They're always looking for ways to spy. They're always engaged in sabotage. They're always engaged in theft. These things are on a continuum. I think that you can say they did want America to see it. They wanted Americans to see the thing. Why else would you send it through the center of the nation? You can make that argument. I just don't think the State of the Union has anything to do with it, sir. I don't think it does at all. Let me go to the comments right here. Where was it? This is Dallas. What's up, man? Should have been shot down when they started tracking it before Alaska, like they admitted. Yeah. If you're going to shoot it down, you would do it before, not after. Right? You could have asked the question of, do you shoot the thing down? Is there other ways to take it down? Are there other ways to respond? My answer is to always respond by taking a zero off the debt we owe China. Every time they steal something, some intellectual property, we take a zero off the debt. Spy balloons, we take a zero off the debt. There's a series of ways to handle these things. They send over a spy balloon, we sink an aircraft carrier. Well, I'm sorry, too much? Well, so says you, not says me. There are ways to respond. But if shooting it down is the answer, of course you do it before. And everybody agrees with you. Right? It's the same thing here with Freddie. If he had our best interest, then nothing should have crossed into restricted airspace. That's exactly the point. And that's why when Biden says it, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't connect with anybody. No one believes that Joe Biden or this military, this military leadership, not our military, the military leadership, had our best interest at heart. They absolutely, positively don't believe that to be the case. Now, Piers Bunny, what's up, Bunny Rabbit? The Trump balloons are made up baloney. Yeah, when the story first came out, I was like, wait, there were balloons? Trump? And then it was like, what do you mean they didn't know until now? They didn't know until the Biden administration was in office that balloons were trying to enter the United States, spying on the... That's the craziest thing I ever heard. And I remember I said it earlier today on the radio show. And even then I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense because, well, we have no idea if it's true. Because it's obvious that this administration, this Defense Department, is running cover for Joe Biden as opposed to leveling with the American people as to what the hell's going on. And that is the story. That BS is a bigger story than the balloon itself. You know, as what's the expression? It's always the cover up. It's not the crime. Right? That's the way it is. Let me go to some of the other comments over here. This is Al Cooper, short for Alice. Wish you would try and get on Fox News is outnumbered and give all the ladies a few cigars. They invite me, I'll go. They invite me, I will go on The View. I promise you, I will do just that. I appreciate you guys being here, and I, of course, appreciate the people from Americans for Prosperity who sponsor the show, americansforprosperity.org, economic liberty and free speech. These are things that I am a fan of. I got to run. There's work still to be done. Catch me on radio, 6 to 9 a.m. and noon to 3 on WIBC.com, and more stations all across the country. Growing, baby. It's a good thing. Follow me on Twitter, Tony Katz. Don't worry about Facebook. Facebook sucks. And of course, locals. Find everything, TonyKatz.locals.com. Tony Katz, TonyKatz.locals.com. Do that immediately if you would, guys. I would greatly appreciate it. I will catch you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.